Hello and welcome back. So now that we have some faces, and if you have been following along, we've had a video about faces, we've had some videos from another year about how to shade. Those are separate than this, but you can definitely apply them to this. Now we need to go ahead and start shading these guys and then add some texture to them. So right now I want to think about where my light is coming from, and I'm going to put that from the upper left hand side, and that means everything on the right, they're going to cast some shadows, which means they're going to have some shadows on the ground, and they're going to be shaded the opposite. So if it comes from the right, it's shaded on the left. So I want to create a texture on this one that's like wood, and I'm going to have my wood grain going vertically. So when I shade this one in, I'm going to go ahead and do my shading, because I want to do my shading first and then layer my texture over the top on this. That way I don't have to go back and lose some things. So I'm going to go ahead and just put that in here, and I did a little line over that by mistake, but that's okay because that's going to be covered up in a couple minutes anyway. So here it is, just shaded. I'm going to shade the front as well, but this one is not going to be as dark as the side, and I'm going to leave that top nice and bright. Although you could give it, okay, that's not true. I'm not going to leave it nice and bright because I'm going to take my pencil just slightly to the side. It's just going to be significantly lighter than the other two sides. So because that one looks about the same as the front, we're going to just darken the front up just a little bit and make sure this is nice and dark. And there we go. We've got three sides. Now, I'm not even with my shading on this. That's perfectly okay because we're going to be adding some wood grain, like I said. So how do we do wood grain? All right. So what I like to do is I like to put some dots. Kind of looks like a little dimple or maybe a mole right there. But I'm going to put a couple dots. Those are going to be knots in the wood. I'm going to do them lengthways up here. And just, that looks like a darker spot right there. So I'm going to go ahead and just add that in. I could do 2 to 3 on each side. So when I'm drawing my lines for my wood grain, it's best if they're as wiggly as possible. And I'm just going to go around those. And where the eye is, I'm just going to lift my pencil and not draw through the eye. We don't want to draw through the eye. And I'm going to continue that all the way to the edge and then off the edge of that cube. Remember, cubes are 3-dimensional, not 2-dimensional. A square is a shape. A cube is a form. So if it's 3-dimensional, and what I did there was really quick, was just a little arrow up kind of thing. I'll show you that again in a second. But cubes are 3-dimensional forms. Cubes are 3-dimensional. They're forms, and shapes are 2-dimensional, like squares. So the front of this is a square, and if we didn't have these sides, that would just be a shape. You add the rest to it, it's a form. You'll need to know that because that's part of your elements of art. What are elements of art? Your building blocks that help with everything else. So you can't have a good composition without the building blocks. And there's another little knot in the wood, so we're just going to go right around it. And now I have my wood grain. And I promised to add some like that arrowy type thing, and I didn't, so I'm going to go ahead and just do that up here. What I mean is it's just like a little triangle, and then I kind of trace that until it's too tiny to trace. And then when we do our wood grain, I just kind of go around that, and maybe I bring it back up on the other side. Just depends on what I want to do. So just bump around, and there we go. So we have some wood grain on the top. Now we're going to need to do that on the side. That side is pretty dark, so we want to draw a little bit heavier. Make sure that you're drawing pretty heavy in through there so that you can see it. And it still may be a little bit difficult to see, but that's okay. You just want the feel of it right there. All right. So now that's in here pretty good. Feel pretty confident with that wood grain, but we've lost a little bit of the features of the face. So you just go in here and strengthen them up a little bit kind of maybe make the eyebrows a little thicker or the lines a little bit darker, something to kind of make it stand out a little bit more. You won't know exactly what you need to do until you're done with the rest. And so you got to just kind of look at it and go with it. I'm going to add another little mark right there for the bottom of his lip. And now he stands out better. Again, I want to make this darker right through here in the eyes. And we're all set there. Okay? So he's a pretty happy looking fella. All right, so over here, let's see, I think I'm going to make her, she's just going to have one eyelash going each way. And I'm going to shade again here. And at this whole side is going to get the shading. So this whole side is going to be fairly dark on this one right here. Going to have a nice dark side. I'm just going to fill that in a vertical motion, kind of aiming towards the top where it all comes together. Okay, so nice and filled in on that side, nice and dark, nice and dark. All right, so I want to add some bricks to this, so I'm going to just draw some lines across, and if I hit an eye, I just skip it, just like I did with the other one. Just skip right over it. Now, this gives me lines right here that I can create. I just start where the other ones left off and take it around the corner. Again, don't draw through the eye. Go lift your pencil when you get to that part. Well, that doesn't look quite like bricks yet. So what we're going to do to create that brick texture, okay, I'm aiming towards this point at the top. One, skip, and then I'm just going to skip every other one. So skip, skip, until we get all the way to the top. And then I'm going to go back in and go right through the middle on those. And now I kind of have a brick texture on that one side. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to do some lines on the side and one in the middle. So kind of the opposite of what I did over here. And I'm going to just bring that in the middle right there. So now we have the brick texture on both sides. If we want to get a little extra fancy with this, you can do what I did on this one right here. And you can see on this one, I started going around the edges and kind of, because yours should be a little bit bigger like this because you're going to have a whole piece of paper. So you want it to be a little bit bigger than what I'm showing here.